Our coverage continues here. Race for the White House. That's at Invesco Field, where Barack Obama will accept his party's nomination just hours from now. The countdown is on. The convention has moved there, and the crowd is filing in at Mile High Stadium. Up to 75,000 people, upwards of 75,000 people expected. And joining now with observations on the historical significance of this night, the Reverend Al Sharpton, president of the National Action Network. Norah O'Donnell and Gene Robinson of the Race for the White House panel are also with us as well. Reverend Sharpton, I spoke to John Lewis last night, who said that what this nomination represents is a down payment on the fulfillment of Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. How would you describe it?
I think that that's an appropriate expression that Congressman Lewis said. You know, this morning we had the big official breakfast commemorating the march. And Martin Luther King III and some of us that were too young to be at the march, that are in this generation of civil rights activists, we said, though Martin knew his father, we didn't know the dream, but we know the dream. The dream is having a fair and open society equal for everyone. But tonight shows that the one line in King's speech where he said that he dreamed of the day that we'd be judged by the content of our character rather than the color of our skin. In the Democratic Party, that has been proven to be true. Doesn't mean that we still don't have issues, and some of us in the civil rights community of this generation will fight that. But I think Senator Obama's nomination has shown the tremendous progress, and America ought to be proud tonight no matter what party they're a member of.
As we continue here, I just want to reference for our audience all this noise behind us. It's one of the downsides of being outside in beautiful downtown Denver. You get some protesters with their own message.
Well, as a protester myself, I don't begrudge that.
Okay, but it's not relevant to our discussion. Barack Obama has not made race a centerpiece of this campaign. And in fact, there were questions, if you talk to Obama's advisors, that come up in focus groups. Lingering doubts about who will Obama surround himself with. And frankly, there are questions about whether the likes of Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, will those be the influences on this campaign or something else? Do you begrudge him the fact that he's taken a different path in this campaign?
Not at all. I think that those in the media that have been a little lazy, Ed Brooke, that was elected while Martin Luther King Jr. was still alive, didn't make race a center, and was elected to the U.S. Senate in '67. Doug Wilder, a generation later. So what Obama has done is what a line of blacks who have entered mainstream politics have done. At the same time, they've respected those of us that fight the issues, but that's just not what they do. He and I have enjoyed an open dialogue. He has come, spoke at my conventions, but he says, I'm not a civil rights leader. That's what you do. I'm a mainstream politician. So I think just as King and that generation related to a Brooke or a Jackson and a Wilder, we do that with Obama. I don't begrudge him. We fight so an Obama can happen, or Dick Parsons can happen in the corporate world.
And yet, do you have a certain level of expectation as a civil rights leader on him as, yes, a mainstream political figure? And as we do this, you see the chairman of the Democratic Party, Howard Dean, going to the convention at Invesco Field. Do you have certain expectations of Barack Obama that are different?
I would have the same expectations that I would have of John Kerry when I supported him, or Al Gore when I supported him, and we would hold him just as accountable. So I think that we want him to have the same opportunity. David Patterson, who's the governor of New York now, who's black, we grew up together. Right. I told him I disagree with him on the budget. Just because he's black does not mean we won't hold him accountable. So we should not expect more from him, but America shouldn't expect less from him. We fight for an open society where even in that society we have the right to disagree with him, but he should not be limited.
Let's talk about political tactics and realities. AFL-CIO leader Richard Trumka told Colorado's delegation today that he believes race could hinder Obama. He said this: there are a lot of white voters out there, some of them union members, who think that he's the wrong race. As Democrats, we can't tap dance around the fact that there are some faces out there that just like that woman. They're scared to death. They want change, they need change, but they just can't get past the notion that voting for a black man named Barack Obama is the only way to do that. How big an obstacle is this?
I think that it is not the obstacle it once was. There was a time we got past it with congressional races. We then got a whole slew of black mayors. When I was growing up, black mayors were common. Then we got statewide. Now we have 2 black governors. I think we're ready to break that national glass ceiling. There may be some, but I don't think there are nearly as many as there were. And I think that most Americans are moving now to saying We need real change, and we're not concerned about the color of the person who may be the change agent. I think that's the hopefulness this campaign has shown us.
We're watching Howard Dean address the Democratic faithful there at Invesco Field, where Barack Obama will accept the nomination tonight. Talk about the speech. What does Barack Obama have to say tonight? What's his political test?
I think that he must give us some level of policy breakdown on what is the contrast between his vision of America and the Republican opponent. And then I think he must inspire us to go out and do what has to be done to win. We also, one of the things I said this morning at the breakfast, civil rights leaders must do, we must put focus on protecting the vote. We cannot have a problem like we had in Florida in 2000 or in Ohio 2004. So at the same time we galvanize new voters, we must make sure the rolls don't have mysterious omissions of people that have been voting. We're going to do, many of us, myself, Martin King, the Urban League head, Mark Mariel, we're going to be doing bus tours of Florida and Ohio with a Not This Time campaign saying we want to check the polls, we want to check the rolls, and we want to make sure the vote is protected. There's a lot of work to do, and he must inspire us to go out and do the work, not just having, as you said, a well-choreographed week. We now have to have a real mobilization from the bottom up kind of campaign.
Reverend Al Sharpton, thanks very much.
Thank
Appreciate you coming here. Race for the White House continues. We'll take a break. Rejoin the events at Invesco Field and continue our coverage here on MSNBC. It's the place for politics. Don't go away.